Hospitals are not in the business of healing. They're in the business of return and repeat customers. Hello there, and welcome to episode 1 of my podcast, Hellbent on Healing. It has been a long time coming. It has been a lot of years in the making. I've wanted to do this podcast. And really, I'd say since August 2023, I've been, I got the equipment and, having a new baby was definitely a little bit of a challenge. So just to give a little introduction, my name is Ginger DeClue. I am a detox coach and iridologist. And this podcast is going to be focused on, like the title says, healing, hell-bent on healing. So my desire, my, wish for the world that we can be healthy, that we can be healed, that we don't have to suffer from chronic illness, and we don't have to be a slave of a system and industry. So first episode, we're going to kick it off spicy. And I'm hopeful that I can get this uploaded onto all the platforms and onto YouTube every week. I hopefully will be able to just commit. Let's just commit to once a week. And then we'll see how it goes. And maybe as I'm inspired, I'll make more episodes. But this podcast is going to focus on different ailments. I'm going to definitely reach out to my audiences on Instagram and TikTok. And as I grow in other places, I'll definitely be reaching out to you guys and asking what you want to hear about. Also, I think I'll definitely touch on things that are happening in the world as far as health. I will be careful with what I say because you do have to be careful in this age that we live in. So I'll definitely try to keep it PG on podcast. But for the first episode, I want to talk about why it is that you are sick and why the business of being sick is booming. And if you don't take accountability and you don't take your power back, you will stay sick because of the profits. So on this first episode, I want to just dive into the business side of disease. And, I love business. I love healing. I am an entrepreneur. I live the American dream. And I 100% believe that people should be well compensated for their work as well as you possibly can. As a small business owner myself, I try to pay my employees as best as I possibly can. But we are in an age where AI has definitely taken over some aspects, taken people's jobs for sure. But again, I do believe that we should all get fairly compensated, especially for, if you do something for someone that really transforms their life and allows them to be healthier, allows them to be more balanced, allows them to have a better relationship with themselves first, with their family, with their friends, you should get paid, right? So I just want to say that straight up. I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. There hasn't ever been a country or a society that has had more freedom than we have right now. I know it's not easy. It's not perfect, but honestly, this is the best it's ever been in human history, believe it or not, as crazy as things are. So let me just say that to start with. Now, in the United States, we are having this major rift, a chasm that has opened up where over the past, I'd say 50 years, we used to produce a lot of things. We were makers, right? And that's the thing. Like if you make something really high quality, let's say a bench or even a child's toy, right? It's going to mean that you're going to make these great profits. But unfortunately, the United States has stopped producing. We don't produce as much as we used to produce. And so what has happened is a large part of our industry, a large part of our economy is the medical system. Okay, so we used to build great planes. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen, but Boeing is having this issue where it's pretty scary. Doors are falling off of planes. We have wheels falling off of planes. We have planes crashing dead out of the sky because we can't even make a decent aircraft, right? So America doesn't produce as much. It consumes. And a big part of capitalism, which is an amazing part of capitalism, is return business, right? So the best businesses, for those of you who are entrepreneurs like myself, the best type of business is a business where you can have people return many times. over the course of their life and buy that product over and over and over again. So a good example would be Windex, right? Windex is a great cleaner for windows. And so, how many times in your life can you think, have you bought Windex? Your lifetime value as a Windex consumer is high, right? You might buy one bottle every month or every 2 months. I mean, Windex is one of those things. I don't use Windex anymore, but when I used to use Windex is one of those things where it kind of like lasts a while, but you still have to buy it maybe 2 or 4 or 6 times a year. It depends on how much you clean, but that's a lifetime customer, right? Like once you buy that Windex once, you're going to keep buying it. Another example would be, what are things that we have to buy every week, right? Or every month. Another good example would be eggs or milk, right? Most people buy eggs and milk every single week. So it's good return business, right? Now, it's shocking for many people, and maybe you're watching this or you're listening to this, it's shocking to discover that the medical industry is 30%. It's 30% of our entire economy. I know not everyone's good at math, okay? But if there was a pie and you cut it into slices, if there was 3 slices, 1 full slice would just be the medical industry. Okay. So that's massive, right? We used to build planes. We used to build things. We used to build toys. We used to build all of our own things, furniture. We don't build anything anymore. We consume illness now. We are sick. And as I talked about being a return customer, and why is it that you're sick? And why is it that why are that so many of us are given lifelong diagnosis? Is that the medical system is designed to keep you coming back for more and more medicine and more treatment. I'm just giving facts. I'm just giving statements. I'm not here to bash anything. I really believe something that you'll learn about me is I am about building a new thing, right? We can't destroy the medical system. I don't believe in running in the streets and protesting and all this stuff. That doesn't change anything. It's using your energy towards destruction. And I don't believe in that. I believe that we need to all start using our energy towards creation and building communities, building a new network, a new healing network. And my signature detox program, Detox by Declue, that's what I'm all about. It's about building a new system. This is why my co-coaches are RNs. Because RNs don't want to work in hospitals. They went into medicine to heal people. They go and they find out that you don't heal people when you're a nurse. You don't heal people when you're a doctor. Hospitals are not in the business of healing. They're in the business of return and repeat customers. And so I'm over here building something new and I'm really excited about it. But today we're going to talk about the system that has been put in place to keep you ill. And once you become aware of these things, I feel like as though it should give you the confidence to start making changes and to start going against the grain. Because remember, if I just told you 30% of our entire economy is medicine, is medical, right? That means that we have a large percentage of the population who is very sick. And I want to do a whole episode on that. And I'll just give a little teaser right now. So I 100% believe in self-love as you are. Like right now, I have 30 more pounds to lose. Still a little chubby face, right? I still have 30 more pounds to lose after having my third born child, my son. I had him in April of 2023. He's 11 months old today as I film this podcast. And I still have a few more pounds to go, right? And I love myself just as I am. I made a whole child. I breastfed that child. I've gone through many sleepless nights. He wakes up at 2 o'clock sometimes, 5 o'clock sometimes. It's a lot. So I love myself as I am. And just to tease this next episode that I will be doing, or one episode that I will be doing, but I don't believe that we should be celebrating mediocrity. And this is where the conspiracy theory side of me comes out, where a lot of these companies that are working together to keep us sick, to keep us returning clients, returning customers, we have changed the narrative as a society, as a culture, to where we celebrate being mediocre. We celebrate a person's decision to stay overweight, right? That to me is twisted. We celebrate our diagnosis. We are celebrating staying in this place of illness. And that is for sure, in my view, that is propaganda that is pushed to encourage people to normalize illness and normalize this slavery of being sick, right? So for me, I would say that I have a problem with, and I could talk, I'm going to go into that. I'm going to talk about that. Maybe at one point I'll do this and I'll have like slides on my computer and I'll be like, see, and this, and this, and this article and this here. So back to this business of being ill though, and this keeping you on the hamster wheel of disease. So basically the way I see it work is like this, right? And what I went through in my own experience, and that'll be a whole series, like all of my trials and tribulations of disease and how I ended up becoming, the Ginger Declue, the detox queen. Detox by Declue has helped 4,200 people in their healing from things like cancer and lupus and autoimmune and thyroid disease and Hashimoto's and infertility and PCOS and fibroids and HSV and HPV. And the list goes on, and high blood pressure and diabetes type 2 and diabetes type 1. Like I've helped so many people. And we'll talk about that. Like, what is the root cause? Why is everyone sick? But this medical industry is really designed to keep you coming back for more and more and more. And it just keeps getting more and more and more expensive. And really it ends up putting you into poverty. It ends up putting you into slavery, because you are, for instance, for someone here, if you're listening and you have some kind of diagnosis and you need your medications, quote unquote, a lot of times people will choose to stay out of the workforce. They will choose to stay at a job they don't like. They'll choose to stay in that lower pay grade to stay on their insurance at the job offers, or they're choosing to stay in poverty because they're like, if I gain any upward mobility, I'll lose my insurance. And in order for me to cover my insurance and my medical, I'm going to need to be making a ton of money. So it disincentivizes people from trying to get better and trying to do better in their life, because they're so scared of losing this thing that really is just keeping them enslaved. And it's keeping them from the truth, and it's keeping them from abundance in all areas. Right. So basically what I see happen, and this is kind of the typical rigmarole, basically what we've seen since the 80s is, first they start you with a million things that they put inside of children's bodies. They start you on antibiotics really young. So you're constantly on antibiotics. They destroy the microbiome of the gut. They put you on steroid creams. They put you on inhalers. They put you on steroid inhalers. You have asthma, all these things as children, right? We're seeing all this childhood illness. So it starts with the little stuff, right? So right there, you need a nebulizer. That just made the doctor, $2,000. You need antibiotics. That made the doctor, the visit and the, how many different prescriptions he gets, that made the doctor thousands of dollars, right? So now you're no longer a child, you're 15, your hormones are out of balance, you have crazy acne. So now let's try birth control. If you're a woman, let's put you on some birth control. And that's, making them money, and the visit's giving them money. And now your hormones are worse. So now they send you to a specialist and they say, we need to put you on Accutane. And now you've been on this Accutane that has a million side effects, and birth control that has a million side effects, and the steroid creams and the steroids and the antibiotics that you stayed on, and you got strep throat. So now you're on more antibiotics as a teenager. So now we're moving along. And, the food companies are 100% working together with the medical companies. They literally are some of the same businesses that produce food for us, like Pepsi and Coke and Chick-fil-A and KFC. Like some of these big food companies work together with doctors. And that's why they started to slowly, change formulas for our foods that we eat, especially fast food. They started to change formulas and put different things inside of the food, because next thing you know, you're a teenager, now you're out with your friends and you want to seem cool. So you eat the Chick-fil-A. There's a million chemicals in that, right? There's all these hormone disruptors. Next thing you know, you want to put on all this makeup. Now I wear natural makeup. So we'll talk about that in an episode. I'll do an episode and I'll share all of the makeup I use. That's all non-toxic and it doesn't have any phthalates or hormone disruptors. But, Maybelline and all the cool cosmetic companies. So you're slathering your face with hormone disruptors because, again, who makes the makeup? The pharmaceutical companies. So the people who make the medicine make the food, and they're making the makeup, and they're making the products that we consume every day, like the Windex, and we're consuming Clorox bleach sprays and all of these things that are known scientifically to cause disease. So the next thing you know, you're a teenager, you're eating all this junk, you're learning about Starbucks, you're learning about how to eat like crap to be popular or whatever it is. Next thing you know, you're in your 20s, you have chronic fatigue, you have a fibroid, you have a cyst, you are sexually active because the culture told you that it's totally fine to have as many partners as you want. And there's no consequences whatsoever. And it's your body and it's your choice. And now you're back to the doctor again. And now you're like needing, what's wrong with me? Oh, well, you have herpes and that's for life. Oh, you have HPV from all the sexual activity. Meanwhile, your immune system was broken down. The reason that you got these viruses and these infections and these thyroid nodules and these thyroid conditions and this hormonal imbalance is due to the fact that you've been poisoning yourself for now, let's say you're 25 or you're 30 or you're 35, you've spent 20, 30, 40 years poisoning yourself. Everyone is different when it finally, like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Sometimes it is taking another medication, or sometimes it is getting that sickness that you got when you went on vacation, or you picked something up and you just can't quite shake it. And now there's something wrong. But it's been a lead up. There's been a lead up to this. And so you've been a customer this whole time. You've been a client this whole time of this medical system. And now they're going to start really cashing in on you. Now they're going to start really making money. Oh, you got lupus. Your kidneys aren't functioning well, right? So then they get you into this where you're hooked in, because now you're not able to be at your full capacity. Now you're brain fogged out and you're confused and you're scared because your body is putting up all these symptoms and you just want to be better. And so many of you, I get sometimes thousands of messages in a week, just depends on how well my reels do, honestly, or my TikToks. And so many of you are just desperately seeking a diagnosis. You want a diagnosis. I want you to understand, you don't actually want a diagnosis. What you want is a solution to your symptoms. And I'm telling you right now, 99% of the time, your diagnosis is not going to be the solution to your symptoms. Just so you know, diagnosis is cool. You have a diagnosis. Here's your lifetime of medicine, right? Like a lot of times people, when they get herpes, it's not like they just get a sore on their, the genitals. They get a flu, they get a fever, they're sick. It comes over their face and they want to know what's going on. And the doctor says, oh, you have herpes. It's for life. Take this pill for the rest of your life that causes liver damage, that causes kidney failure, that causes all these problems. You have SIBO. Oh, okay. You have acid reflux. Take this Prilosec, this NSAID that's going to, cause kidney failure and all these symptoms. All of the treatments for your diagnosis create more disease. And so here we go. So now you're 25, 30, 35, maybe 40, and you got your diagnosis. It's Hashimoto's, it's thyroiditis, it's some problem like this. You know the answer. Here's your medication for life. Here's your steroids for life, right? Oh, you have eczema, steroid cream for life. Okay. Immunosuppressants for life. You have MS. Here's your immunosuppressants for life. Then all the while you trust these doctors, you trust that they're giving you treatments because you just want to be relieved of your symptoms. But again, you're in a haze, you're in a fog, you have brain fog, you get your diagnosis, you get on your medications that they are now making tens of thousands of dollars on, tens of thousands, right? It starts a couple thousand here, a few thousand here. Maybe you need appendix surgery. That's a $25,000, $30,000 for the doctor in his pocket, right? So it's all these small things that start building up. And then you're on this medication, you're on these steroids, you're on this, Synthroid and all these medications, and you're on this antivirals, and your kidneys start acting up. And your liver starts acting up. And then you get diagnosed with fatty liver. And then you get diagnosed with liver failure, kidney failure, heart problems, high blood pressure. Now your pancreas isn't working. You're diabetic, right? So this is the way this goes. It's the track that they put you on. And now you're on medications for the first diagnosis, which was the thyroid problem. Now you're on kidney medication. Now you're looking at liver. Your liver is messed up. Right. Next thing you know, you have anxiety and depression if you haven't already, because you're so upset that you're sick. So now you're seeing a psychiatrist, you're seeing a psychologist, you're on Xanax, you're on Klonopins, you're on Cymbalta for the pain, you're on maybe even opioids for pain because your body hurts. And so now they're making buku bucks off of you. You are their slave. I always say this, and sometimes I get in trouble. I'm black and white. So I resonate with both cultures. I feel like I've got to see both sides of culture. My mother was black, my father's white. And I always say, I lived in the hood, lived in at 51st and Walnut. And I always say, slave owners from actual slave days would be rolling in their grave if they knew how much the new form of slavery was making compared to what they made off of slaves. They had nothing. Cotton picking, it has nothing on what they make off of you if you're a poor person, particularly a poor Black person who has chronic illness. It's pathetic. They make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on you over your lifetime. They siphon you. They literally siphon you. So now you're on all these meds. Now you have a new diagnosis. Now you have kidney problems. Now you maybe even have kidney failure. It's a very common, issue that we're seeing. A lot of people are on the transplant waiting list. So now you're on dialysis, and maybe you have diabetes now. Your PCOS and your infertility that you got the surgery for, you got the myomectomy, you got the adhesions removed, all this nonsense. Now you have diabetes too, right? Because your hormones are messed up. So now you're on insulin. That's thousands of dollars a month that they're making off of you, just the insulin. And God forbid, this is how unfortunately this ends, right? We saw the life expectancy actually go down in the last few years. So how it ends, sadly but surely, a few things. You get cancer. Whoo, that to them, that is gravy. Oncology, gravy, right? And 1 in 2 people now are getting cancer. This isn't just me. This is just facts. 1 in 2 Americans get cancer. That's insane. Half of us. I look at my family. There's 5 of us in the family. I'm like, oh my God, that's like, geez, God forbid. This is why I'm so passionate about it. And we'll talk more about my story as you guys get to know me. Some of you know me from Instagram and you know me from TikTok, but this is now a new era, a new level. So you see these people who, they end up with cancer. Half of us end up with cancer. God forbid it happens to me or anyone in my family, knock on wood. And 1 round of chemo, 1 round is about 50 grand on average. And that's the average is 50,000. There are cancer treatments for a single round that can cost in the millions of dollar range, right? So now they've really making the money off of you because the chemo and all the radiation and all those treatments end up costing a single person hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, that these hospitals get to bill to insurance, they get to bill to Medicare. And there's one of 2 things happens. Either you're the type of person who's just stayed poor and you lived a poor lifestyle and you stayed on your free Medicaid or Medicare. And so the government pays for it, but you never got to live your life. You don't own anything. You didn't do anything because if you're getting Medicare or Medicaid, then you don't have anything. There's that side. Or you're like me, you're a high achiever. You did all the things right. You worked your ass off. You got up off your ass and you weren't a victim and you created a little lifestyle for yourself. You have a little house that you own. Maybe you have a couple kids and now you have cancer. And because you aren't a poverty-stricken person, you don't get any benefits. You don't get any help. And so most people end up losing their house because they need to be getting the free health insurance. You need to have nothing. So you did all that work. You sacrificed your health. You didn't focus on your healing. You just kept going. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter anyways, because they take everything so that you can get your free insurance, so that you can afford these hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of treatment that the quote unquote government is paying for, right? So that's the worst case scenario, which happens to so many people, is the cancer. And then 30 to 80% of people who get cancer, they don't die from cancer. They die from treatment. This stuff is poisonous. The chemo causes cancer. I mean, this is stuff that I think you can still Google. A lot of things have changed and you can't look at as much of these articles and as much of this data anymore. It's just not there anymore. So the other options that you have a few. Pick a lane. Okay. So you pick the cancer lane. Then there's the blood pressure lane. You have a heart attack and they need to do open heart surgery and they cath you and they do all this horrific, brutal surgery that we just think, oh yeah, 6 weeks, you're back to normal. No, most people never recover fully from a surgery. So that's number one. You end up with a stroke. That's what happened to my mother at 55. She ended up with a stroke. That last hospitalization where she was in the ICU, she had the stroke. She had dealt with high blood pressure. She was on high blood pressure medications and she ate terrible. That was her problem. Love my mother, miss her every day, but that was, she made her own sickbed. She made her own sick bed. She dug her own grave. It's just a fact. Sad, but true. And so many of you are doing it. The last hospital stay was $600,000 or $700,000 for University of Penn. She was in intensive care. This is how much they charge, right? So you go down that route, the heart disease route, the stroke route. That's the number one, actually, right? More than anything, people are having heart attacks. People are dying of heart disease. People are fat. 70% of Americans are fat. It's just a fact of life. And that's, like I said, I want to have a whole episode on it, but I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm a little bit chubby because I'm postpartum, and things happen. Your thyroid fails and all of a sudden you're gaining weight. Things happen. And I'm here with you. You got to still love yourself, but it's this celebration that, yeah, being a huge whale is good for you. And it's not, because being fat increases the likelihood of getting sick. This is why I've been working on losing the baby weight. Like, I'm not proudly 30 pounds overweight. I'm proudly working towards being the healthiest version of myself, because as my mother used to say, I would die for you kids. She used to look me and my sister in the eye. I would die for you girls. And I flip that saying and I look at my 3 beautiful children and I say, I will do everything to live for you children. I will stay alive for you because I love you and I want you to have me here. There's nothing more devastating than delivering your babies, my daughter, my beautiful daughter, and my mom's not here to see her. My mom wasn't here to see my son, my 3rd born son being born. I wish my mom was here. And I know that when my daughter and my son, if they decide to have children, I'm sure they're going to want me to be there for them in those moments, right? This is the thing that really drives me too. It's like, we need our ancestors, and you and I, we are the ancestors. Like, especially if you have a family history of disease, you're going to have to be the one, if you choose, to break these curses. So like I said, you go down the cancer route, you go down the heart disease route, you go down the blood sugar problems. And this is really sad. I have a student who was just talking to me about she has a family member who had diabetes and ended up having to get his leg cut off. And I have family members, my grandmother, my mother's mother, died of diabetes. She had a blood sugar. She got into a fight with my sister, my aunt. They were living together. She went to a hotel because they were having this fight, and her blood sugar was out of control. Nobody was with her, and she died alone at 48 years old from blood sugar. Her blood sugar went too high and she died. I have other family members who recently lost a stepfather. First it starts with the toe, and then they cut off your foot, and then they cut off your leg, and then you die, right? Your kidneys fail. Most diabetics die from kidney failure. And typically what happens is, after they lose the foot, they lose the toe, they lose the foot, they lose the leg, then the kidney is dealing with not only too much sugar in the blood from having a pancreas that's broken down or that's not functioning, but they also then are dealing with the waste of this dead tissue on the body. So the limb that is dying on the body is creating more pressure on the kidneys. They have the surgery, and then they typically die of kidney failure, sepsis, blood poisoning. So over that whole person's lifetime, those hospitals and doctors made a fortune. And again, I'm not against anybody making money. I want to repeat that. But the only time I would go to a doctor, there's 2 times. Number one, when I'm pregnant, I do like to make sure that everything is normal with the baby. I have a midwife who delivers my children. I've had the last 2 births at home, but I do want to make sure that, my sugar levels are normal and the baby has normal bloods and the baby looks fine. So I do get an ultrasound and I do get blood work when I'm pregnant. That's it. And the other time that I would go to the hospital is, God forbid, knock on wood, I ever had to have an accident. I got into an accident, a car accident, some freak accident, and my leg was severed, or I got shot by, God forbid. Then, and only then, do I want to see the inside of a doctor's office or a hospital, because we do have incredible life-saving techniques and procedures that can save you. I just saw this kid on Instagram he was a forklift driver, and he drove the forklift over the side of an embankment, and the forklift fell on him. His arm, he said, was at the top, like next to his face. His arm had been cut off, and the forklift was crushing basically from below his belly button. Like, think about that. Below his belly button was being crushed by this forklift. And they somehow saved this guy, and he's living with no, see, and this is another conversation that we can have, because I don't know where are we taking it too far in the trauma department and saving people's lives. Now, this kid seemed happy to be alive. So, I don't know though. He has no butthole, no anus, no penis, nothing. He has tubes that stick out of his lower part of his abdomen because he literally had to be cut in half from his belly button down. That's a miracle. That's amazing to me. Like, that's where medicine is like, holy, how did you guys plug him up and sew him up? And the girlfriend was talking, and she said, he said when they woke him up, because he survived. They thought he was going to die. They didn't think he was going to survive the initial, accident, but everything was completely crushed from his belly button down, every bone in his lower body, and a lot of the organs were damaged. And he said, as long as I'm a head on a plate, I'll be okay to be alive. So to me, that kid has a lot of spunk. I don't know if I'd want to live like that. Right. And that's a very deep conversation that we could have about where does it go too far in saving people. But, if I got shot or if I got in an accident, I'm so grateful that we have orthopedic surgeons who can set an arm and put a, piece of metal in there. Right. But that's a very small fraction of what medicine is. Medicine, for the most part, is symptom management and keep you on the roller coaster and keep you on the hamster wheel of staying ill. And so this is just a perspective, not telling you what to do with your health or what to do with your life. However, I personally checked out of that system many years ago because I knew where it was leading. I personally decided to take responsibility and authority over my health decisions and over my lifestyle. And that's what birthed Detox by Declue, was my years-long journey to being my healthiest self, because I wanted to live. I had a near-death experience. I was in a wheelchair at one point. I had brain swelling. I'll tell you right now, when you have that kind of thing where you almost die, or when you see what it could be like to be that sick, I wanted to live out loud. At this point in my life, I mean, it's not like I'm old or anything, but I'm really proud of myself for what I have done. Maybe I'm not done it perfectly. I have so much more to learn, but I'm living. I'm alive. I tell you right now, I'm fully alive. I'm fully in the driver's seat. I'm fully in control of my life, every moment of my life. That's so sexy and spicy, and it feels great. And that's what I want for you. And that's what this deeper part of this podcast is going to be about, is I want you to take back your authority and your sovereignty. And if that means that there's a mix of, maybe you still go to the doctor, maybe you still take medications, but you make different decisions about what you put in your mouth, what you surround yourself with, what you put into your mind, right? Awareness is so important. If you didn't know any better, it's okay. I didn't know any better. I didn't know. But once you know, it's on you. Once you do know, there's a quote, fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. So once you have this awareness of what's going on, and then you still feed into that system, you're now using your free will. You are now complicit in whatever happens, and it's on you. You are making these decisions with the wisdom, with the knowledge. And so whatever the consequences are on you. And back to what I had said earlier, this is why I'm not into, we need to destroy the medical system. We need to burn anything down. No, that's just the way that is. That is what the model is. Start them here, get them a little bit sick, and then we put you to the top of the pyramid of the chemo and the dialysis and the liver transplant and the kidney transplant and the foot getting cut off and 19 medications and your brain fog and you're on Medicare and you owe nothing and you're happy and you're just a slave to sickness. That's just that system. But you and I can come together. And this is what I've been working on since 2019, really. That's when I really became dedicated to sharing about healing, sharing about my journey. And then people started to come to me to get coaching. And now I have the Detox by Declue. Now we have the done for you detox, where you just order the food. Everything is delivered right to your door. I'm so excited about this. That's the thing. We have this opportunity now where we didn't know before. We didn't know any better before. Now we know. Now we know. And that's exciting, because if you know better, then you can say, well, I now know what their plan is. So I had better take care of myself and invest in my healing, because you're going to pay one way or another. You're going to pay one way or another. And maybe you're not physically writing out a check for $600,000 to be at the last week of your hospital. Maybe you are. Like I said, some people end up having to sell their family home and sell all their belongings because mom died and had cancer. And now we have to pay all her medical bills, and it's going to cost this entire house. But for most of you, you don't compute that you're paying because insurance covered it. But listen, if you actually were doing the job that you wanted to do and you were abundant, as you should be because you are a creature of God, then you wouldn't even be considering this stupid insurance coverage. You wouldn't be considering this job that does not fill you up. You should be doing something where you're of service, where you're sovereign, or you're working for a sovereign company. Not everyone is meant to be a Ginger DeClue, right? Some of us, people like me, we do need a team though, right? And these kind of outside the matrix opportunities pay a lot better than the inside the matrix opportunities. So you are paying because you're staying in something that isn't that great, and you're not going to achieve the kind of wealth, the kind of freedom that you could have achieved had you said, I'm going to take care of myself. So yes, it costs a physical amount of money that you have to give to someone like myself, a coaching program, changing your diet, changing the things in your house and your lifestyle. Yes, that costs you, but it's costing you a hell of a lot less than becoming the slave of sickness, becoming the maker of your own sickbed, where you are now a prisoner. And I always say, please don't call me from your hospital bed. What do you want me to tell you to do? You're in a hospital, right? Like, you're hooked up to machines. You're hooked up to the food that they bring you, which is like box mashed potatoes and like stamped meat. It's not even real chicken. It's like stamped together, like freaking synthetic meat that they feed you in there, and matzo applesauce and a juice box. I've been in the hospital many times. Okay. I know what they feed us in there. Okay. And so once you're that far, it's a little bit more challenging to come back. It's a little bit more challenging. So here's what I'll leave you with. Number one, if you know this is how the system works, you need to start taking better care of your health. Okay. You need to start, if you're watching this or listening to this and you're borderline, you've got issues, you got symptoms, blah, blah, blah. But now it's doctor's visits. Now it's missing work, right? Do something today. Change today, because the further down you go, when you come to me and you have the lupus diagnosis, or you have the Hashimoto's diagnosis, or you have the infertility and you're not getting your period and you're not getting your ovulation, or you have cancer, it's harder. I'm just going to be honest. It's going to take longer. The longer you've been sick, the longer it will take to heal. So I always say prevention is the best medicine. I'm pretty sure Ben Franklin, shout out to Philly people, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So not to say that it's ever too late. It's almost never too late for you. However, do something before it gets to the point where you are in the hospital. Okay. So as I always say, remember, your health is your wealth, and we all deserve to be rich. And I'm hopeful to put out one of these a week. Maybe I'll do more. I don't know. I just got set up. I'm getting more comfortable with my little filming setup here. I think it looks pretty good. I hope the sound is great on this. I'm filming with the Shure mic. I got all the goodies for you guys to give you a really high quality experience, and I'd love and appreciate if you subscribe to this podcast, if you like this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, and follow me on Instagram at Detox with Ginger DeClue. You can follow me on TikTok. It's Detox by DeClue is my TikTok. And yeah, I have a lot of different amazing opportunities to work with me. Right now, the focus is the Done For You Detox, which is really exciting. So that's basically, I partnered with this incredible company, a woman-owned company who actually, the owner did Detox by DeClue 3 years ago. and she produces the sea moss for Erewhon, and she has her own brand in her own right. But that's a pretty big achievement to be manufacturing for a top level grocery store. So I decided to come together with her and create the Done For You Detox, because she's shipping sea moss all over the country. And so we came together and we said we could ship the detox to everyone. So you would get coaching. So traditionally my program was just coaching, and you had to get your own food, and that's fine. I have had 4,200 people do that program and do extremely well. But this is that next level white glove experience and opportunity where you're able to fully open the box and everything is there. You don't have to do anything other than get the coaching and eat the foods that are in the box, and you get the detox and the healing results. So that's exciting that we're working on. And our first launch is in May. So we'll be shipping that starting in May. Very exciting. So I do talk about that. I might add links to where you can find out more information about that. You book a call with my team. Sometimes I take calls, very rarely, but there are moments that you might get to talk to me. But those are enrollment calls to find out about the detox. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Hellbent on Healing, my brand new podcast. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one. And stay healthy, man. Stay avoiding that processed food. Stay avoiding those crappy thoughts. And we'll talk again in a little bit.